why the red-nosed reindeer was mocked, and why that was inevitable. Everyone knows the story of the red-nosed reindeer, a single animal, standing out from the rest, laughed at because of one strange feature. But what if the question was never why was the nose red? What if the real mystery is why redness became something to laugh at in the first place? In the frozen north, where survival depends on every adaptation, nothing exists without reason. And yet, this one difference turned into a joke, a symbol of weakness, and a reason for exclusion. Tonight, we're not retelling a familiar story. We're uncovering why it had to happen. A reindeer's red nose is not decoration. It is not illness. It is not weakness. Inside the nose lies one of the densest networks of blood vessels found in land mammals. In extreme cold, warm blood flows close to the surface, heating the air before it reaches the lungs. This system prevents internal freezing and keeps oxygen intake efficient during long migrations. The redness is the visible sign of survival working at its limit. In other words, the red nose appears when the reindeer is functioning perfectly in the harshest conditions. So why did something so vital become something to mock? The answer lies not in biology, but perception. In snow-covered environments, uniformity means safety. Anything that stands out becomes visible to predators, to rivals, to danger. Evolution favors blending in, but it also punishes difference socially. The red nose broke visual symmetry. It made one reindeer impossible to ignore. And what cannot be ignored often becomes a target. Every group, animal or human, follows an unspoken rule: difference must justify itself. Until it does, it is ridiculed, minimized, or pushed aside. The red nose did not yet have a visible purpose. It only looked strange, and in that moment, laughter became a defense mechanism, an attempt to restore normality by making the unfamiliar feel small. The tragedy is not that the red-nosed reindeer was mocked. The tragedy is that it could not avoid it. In nature, usefulness is often recognized only after a crisis. Until darkness falls, until vision fails, until survival demands what once seemed unnecessary. The red nose was never a mistake. It was simply ahead of its time. And here lies the final mystery. The story was never about a reindeer. It was about how societies treat visible difference. About how function is invisible until necessity reveals it. About how laughter often masks fear of the unknown. The red nose was not special because it glowed. It was special because it survived long enough to prove everyone wrong. So the next time you see something different, strange, or easy to laugh at, remember this: in nature, the most misunderstood traits are often the ones that save everyone when it matters most. But here is a detail most people never question. If the nose was about survival, why red? Why not white, or dark, or invisible? In nature, red is a warning color. Blood, heat, exposure. Red announces vulnerability. A red nose does not hide strength. It reveals it, and that is exactly why it draws attention. The reindeer was not mocked because it was weak. It was mocked because it was visibly alive in a world where survival usually stays hidden. Laughter, in social animals, often appears when something disrupts expectation. It is not always cruelty. It is calibration. When something breaks the pattern, the group reacts by reducing its perceived threat, making it small, making it funny. If the red nose had been frightening, it would have been attacked. Instead, it was laughed at. That distinction matters. Mockery was not rejection. It was hesitation. In every ecosystem, traits that later save the group almost always appear first as anomalies. Evolution does not introduce features with explanations attached. They arrive early, misunderstood, and alone. The red nose entered the world without context, no signal explaining its future value. And so, it carried the burden of being first. Value in nature is situational. In daylight, the red nose is unnecessary. In darkness, it becomes essential. The same trait moves from liability to salvation without changing at all. Only the environment changes, and that is the cruelest lesson of all. Meaning is not fixed. It waits for the right conditions. So why did the red-nosed reindeer have to be laughed at? Because recognition without contrast is impossible. Because usefulness without doubt goes unnoticed. Because every system resists change until it no longer can. The laughter was not a mistake. It was part of the process. A signal that something new had arrived, too early to be understood. Here is something unsettling. In nature, no trait arrives with an explanation. Survival does not come with subtitles. A feature appears first, and only later does the environment ask the question it answers. The red nose existed long before darkness demanded light. It was not created for a story. The story was created because the nose already existed. When a difference cannot be explained, the mind seeks control, and laughter is one of the simplest tools for that. To laugh is to say, I don't need to understand this yet. It creates distance without confrontation. The red nose triggered no danger signal, but it broke expectation. And so, it became a joke. Not because it was harmless, but because it was unresolved. Groups rarely reject something because it is wrong. They reject it because it is unfamiliar. Familiarity feels safe. Safety feels correct. The red nose did not threaten survival, it threatened comfort. And comfort is often defended more fiercely than truth. Most people believe the turning point was darkness. But darkness alone changes nothing. What changed was urgency, time pressure. When there is no time to debate, no space to mock, function becomes visible. In that moment, laughter stops. Not because understanding arrives, but because survival speaks louder. After usefulness is proven, stories multiply. Explanations appear everywhere. Suddenly, it feels obvious, inevitable. But this is the illusion of hindsight. We remember the result, not the doubt that came before it. The laughter fades from memory. The waiting does not. The red-nosed reindeer did not become important because it was different. It became important because it stayed. Because it endured misunderstanding long enough for reality to change. Being laughed at was not the price of usefulness. It was the cost of arriving early. In nature and in life, that cost is unavoidable. From an evolutionary perspective, the red nose looked like a mistake. It consumed energy. It increased visibility. It broke camouflage. If you were judging only by efficiency, you would remove it. And that is exactly what makes it dangerous to misunderstand. Some adaptations are not optimized for peace. They are optimized for crisis. The most uncomfortable truth is this: the most important traits spend most of their existence being useless. Or worse, misunderstood. Evolution does not reward speed of acceptance. It rewards endurance. The red nose survived ridicule, not because it was protected, but because it was not fatal enough to be eliminated. Humans often believe that usefulness should be recognized immediately. But recognition follows narrative, not function. Without a story, function remains invisible. The red nose had no narrative, no context, no explanation, until circumstances forced one into existence. Groups are excellent at preserving the present. They are terrible at recognizing the future. Anything that belongs to tomorrow looks unnecessary today. The red nose was not ahead because it was smarter. It was ahead because the environment had not caught up yet. Fear freezes. Aggression attacks. Laughter buys time. It allows observation without commitment. That is why laughter appears before understanding. It keeps the system flexible. The red nose triggered laughter because it demanded attention without demanding action. The trial was never about the red-nosed reindeer. It was about the group's ability to wait, to tolerate unresolved difference, to coexist with something that made no immediate sense. And most systems fail that test. This story returns every winter because it is never finished. Every generation finds its own red nose. Something visible, misunderstood, laughed at. And every time, the question is the same. Can we wait long enough to see what it is for? Or will we demand an explanation before reality is ready to provide one? If you enjoyed uncovering these amazing animal secrets, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated on all our future videos. Don't forget to click the bell icon, so you'll never miss out on more fascinating stories from the animal kingdom. Thank you for watching, and we can't wait to explore more hidden secrets with you in the next video.